Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. All right, welcome in, everybody. Angel and Kevin here inside of the dog trainer community again. Super excited to bring you guys this episode for today. We had an idea for like the topic for today, and it's more of a mindset type of thing than anything. And that is making the mindset shift from being a kind of freelancer, just kind of like the friendly local neighborhood dog trainer, over to being just like an actual business owner and how to operate like a business and what kind of mindset comes along with that. And so, we're going to talk a little bit about just different tactical things that you can do with that and things that I've seen with dog trainers and, shifts that they've made to kind of like really help with that. And then we're just going to talk about just kind of overall the benefits of like making that shift and what it looks like to, view yourself as not just a business owner, but the, CEO of your company and all that good stuff. So with that being said, Angel, why don't you kind of kick it off and talk a little bit about just like different things that you've seen with people and just the overall like mindset shift that you feel like needs to happen for people.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I've noticed with like us working with so many dog training and business owners is like a lot of the time, I would say most of the time, people get into this business because they are good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
You start off by like just being a good dog trainer, maybe you realize like how good you are and how much business you can get if you were doing it on your own, and you decide to just get into business by yourself, or maybe you and another dog training partner. So I assume that's kind of what you mean of like going from like the freelancer thing to more of a business mind.
Yeah.
And another big thing is like really realizing the things that you're going to run into with being a business owner and like the different changes you're going to see and all that kind of stuff, because it's one thing to get into business and have like a good clientele built up, or you have a good name for yourself, but then at the same time, like there's going to be seasonal changes within your business where you have to hustle a little harder to get those leads or to get more sales and stuff like that. So that's just kind of like one thing that I notice is talking to people more about doing more like self-marketing. And considering those times of like when those organic word of mouth kind of things aren't coming in, and you just have to push a little bit harder and have more of like that business mindset of I need to get out there and I need to find more of this work for myself, or I need to do more networking with other like-minded people and other businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really well said. And just to, I said before, I'm going to give like a couple of like tactical real life examples. And, as we were starting this call, Jamie yelled from the other room that like answering your phone and introducing yourself and kind of like making the first correct connection with people. And so let's use that as an example for the time being. So, you kind of at a certain point, like to what you're saying, you start out and you just maybe start getting like referrals and like, maybe your grandma tells her friend about you or something like that. And like that person uses you to train their dog. And then it just kind of grows from there. Or people see you at the park with your own dog. And all of a sudden, like you just start getting people coming up to you and asking you, and you're like, yeah, sure, I can help you. Pay me $25 and, I'll come over and train your dog. And that's the story that we hear from so many different people when they first started their business. But you can't keep running. I mean, you can, but like you shouldn't, is what I should say. Keep running your business with that same mentality of just like, I'm just somebody who like trains dogs. Like when people ask me, and if they need help, sure, I'll help them out. And I charge the same thing for every single person. And I don't charge a lot of money or whatever it is. Like it's going to be really hard to make a go at it if that's what you're doing. And, a good barometer that we typically see and kind of just like a telltale sign, I guess I should say, for people who haven't fully made the shift is that exact example I was using before of when a phone call comes in, because we record all the calls. Yes, we're always listening. We record all the calls, and so many times when people first start out working with us, they answer the call and they're like, hello. And so it always just kind of starts off. So first I was like, why do you sound like freaked out that somebody's calling you? But second off, like it just kind of sets the tone for the call that like you're not serious. Right. And so
Mhm.
always answer the call with your name, the name of your business, and then quickly follow up by asking them what their name is. Right. So that way you can start making that initial first connection with them, and really start kind of just forming some sort of bond. So that's just a good example of like the shift. It's like it's not about you anymore. It's not about Kevin, the dog trainer. It's about or in my case, like Kevin, the Google Ads guy, right? It's about like Top Dog Advertising. It's about, Joe's dog training or whatever it is. Like that is the brand. And so you start building that brand by answering the call and introducing the company and stuff like that, because there's going to be a time, hopefully in the future, where it's no longer you answering the call, right? And so you want people to feel like they're calling the dog training business, the entity, and working with the entity, the business, not you. Not like this only works if I'm the one doing everything.
Yeah, and also to add on to that in regards to the mindset topic is I've heard so many times people saying like I'm good with dogs, like I don't have an issue with that. It's people that I can't deal with or I
Yeah.
can't, and it's almost like it's coming off as if like more of an excuse. But like when you get into the business and you're gonna be dealing with more people, you know, and it's just something that you have to do. Like you have to be willing right off the bat to make certain changes or at least learn or be open to learning how to deal with people or talk to people and all that kind of stuff. And then same thing too. This kind of sort of like goes along the lines of like your pricing. So I think a fear behind people increasing their prices, aside from it being a little bit more difficult to sell, more expensive programs, but people will say like, people can't afford that or they're not gonna, whatever the case is. And it's always helpful to like keep that in the back of your mind is like what's going on in the economy right now and like having fair pricing. But at the same time, you have to consider like yourself, your own income, your business expenses, all that kind of stuff. And then, like you said, if you're wanting to grow your business and eventually have more people on, like you're paying those people. But then also going back to like the phone call stuff, like just by growing yourself as an individual professionally and kind of getting all of this stuff down pat is going to make it so much easier down the line when you do want to grow your business and you already have these systems in place. You have like your verbiage in place and how you want like the rest of your team to kind of carry that out.
Mhm.
Instead of it almost being like you're learning along with your employees kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, again, just kind of like being more open to growing that like professionalism.
Yeah, and that's the key word. So I'm glad you brought that up because that is really what we're talking about here is like a certain level of professionalism. A good thing to do is you don't want to imitate, but like you can kind of like iterate, right? So look at what other people around you are doing and what are the successful companies doing? And they may not be doing anything particularly well, right? But I was listening to somebody talk about actually on a podcast recently. She was talking about buying businesses and stuff like that, and she's like, the amount of businesses that are for sale in the United States. I promise I'm gonna try really hard not to get off topic here and start talking about something completely unrelated, but I think this is going to be helpful. She was talking about how there's this entire generation of people, right? People who are in their 60s and 70s and years ago, they started a plumbing business or they started a dry cleaner or whatever it may be, right? There's all these different businesses for sale and are going to be coming on the market, over the next couple of years in particular, because there's this massive generation of people that are going to be retiring and all that stuff, right? And she's like, so many of these businesses, could be even more profitable and they're worth buying because they have this client list. But more importantly, they've just never really been brought into the 21st century. They've never really like had a real website built. They've never really had a real social media presence. They've never really run ads. They've never really used technology or AI or something like that in the way that like you can use it now and stuff like that. And so, there's companies out there that are doing really well, just because like they put the new 2024, 2025 spin and branding and marketing on a age-old business like a window cleaning company or something like that, and people just think it's cool now and they want to be a part of that and they want to use that company.
Mhm.
And so the reason I'm talking about this is because, you know, think about how you can implement that in your business, right? Like take a look at like what other people are doing in the market and see what you can do to differentiate and give people a better experience. And so a good example of this is like, you know, again, if you're a freelancer, the way freelancers kind of operate is like, oh yeah, you want to train with me? Okay, cool. Like, why don't you just like Venmo me like 50 bucks or something like that, and we'll just do that per lesson, right? Businesses don't do it that way. Like a business owner would be like, hey, here's the program you're going to do. Here's, you know, the amount we're going to take as a deposit. Here's, you know, the payment structure you're going to pay. You're going to sign a contract, a liability waiver, all that stuff. And there's like an onboarding process, right? Maybe there's like a welcome packet they get, or maybe there is, you know, homework that's detailed for them. Or even one of our clients, I was talking to her earlier today about how, you know, going out there and during the consultation, having just a binder full of the programs that she can really point to and say, hey, this one is the program I think would be best for you. And it's branded and stuff like that. Like that's all the stuff that makes people feel like this is a real business. I'm working with like a real operation here, not just so much like somebody who's just gonna just trains dogs or something like that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And structure is something that I talk to a lot of our clients about, of like implementing structure within your business or within your programs and stuff like that. And I think that initially started off more so by talking about programs and the
Yeah.
benefit to keeping your programs structured. Now it's always, or it can be okay sometimes to like, you know, veer off that path a little bit, kind of change things up if it's a situation where like you're wanting to help someone out about or with something. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a good habit to get into, because then you're almost gonna like start losing structure within your programs. And then I think that's gonna like lead over into like, you know, other things within your business. And so like an example with programs, for instance, is people selling, let's say, like one-off lessons. I would say that's like the main thing that I generally talk to people about, is like selling one-off lessons. So generally we're like building up lesson programs, you know, that's how you're going to get more money from selling lessons. But then if you are selling a one-off lesson, you're just upcharging it. So that way it's
Mhm.
kind of like an incentive for the client, where if I just purchase a whole package, I'm going to be saving money.
Yep.
But even in that case, I try not to encourage it, just because you don't want to like resort to just like selling a ton of just single lessons.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
for sure.
Yeah, it, like I said, it generally starts off like with programs and kind of that conversation of the importance of structure, but that applies to so many different aspects within your business. Is it's just like maintaining structure in your own life. You know,
Hmm.
you have certain structure by like waking up at a certain time, and then you go to the gym, and then you do this and you do that. And if you're constantly letting things get in the way of that structure being broken, like, you know, your friends wanting to go out super late at night, and you're like, okay, you know, I'll go to the gym another day, or I'll make up for it tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah.
Like by constantly breaking that up, it's going to throw off like your entire flow of things. So it's the same thing within your business.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And to take that even a step further too, you know, things that you don't make time for don't happen, if that makes sense. If I didn't just
Mhm.
totally get that backwards. But I think that like what I mean by that is that like if you don't block it out and actually have a real intention to do it, it's more than likely not going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
And the day just gets a week away from you, and then all of a sudden the week gets away from you. And so this is why time blocking is so powerful. And you know, using a calendar is so powerful. Like the amount of people that, and I was guilty of this myself. And listen, there's still ways that we can all improve. And I'm not saying that like I'm above that at all. I'm certainly not. But the amount of people that don't even use a calendar, you know, and they just kind of like let the day come at them. You have to be, especially as you grow in your business, there's going to start being people that pull you in different directions, and they're going to require things from you. And if you're not very vigilant, your entire day just goes to helping other people with problems and stuff like that. And that may sound like, yeah, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, I'm supposed to be answering like dog training questions and helping clients. That's true. That's a big part of your business. But the only way it's ever going to move forward to a point where like it's really sustainable and scalable, and if you want to do that, and have something that you really enjoy being a part of and running, is if you take the time on a weekly basis to block out time to do the like high leverage activities that are going to put you in a better position tomorrow. So blocking out time on your calendar to do marketing, to do social media advertising, or get back to your leads, or set up marketing campaigns, whatever it is. Like, or if you want to talk about doing all these things that we were talking about before, like doing your onboarding process or whatever it is, or building out your programs and branding it, like all of that requires time. And I
Mhm.
can't tell you guys, like, the most efficient, I'm always kidding myself if I don't do this when it comes to projects. The most efficient I ever am is when I, turn on like do not disturb on my phone, and I set a timer, and I say, okay, this is how long I think this is actually going to take. And I set myself that amount of time, and I just get to work and just go do it. Because when I tell myself like, oh, that project that needs to get done, oh yeah, I'll do that next week, or I'll do that Thursday because I think I have like a morning. It just never gets done. Like, you have to be very intentional about what you're doing with your time.
Yeah, yeah, and when it comes to being a business owner, like it requires so much self-discipline, because if you're working like, for another like 9 to 5 company, and there's constantly stuff coming up, like, oh, a friend asks you to go for lunch, or, literally anything,
Yeah.
you're not gonna continuously like take off work to do these things, because you have a job to do. It's the same thing in your business. Like, you have a job to do, you have, business to bring in, but like you are that sole person that is bringing that work in for you, or bringing that in for your team. So
Yeah.
yeah, it requires a lot of self-discipline to tell yourself, like, I have free time right now. Am I going to tend to my business and do these things that need to be done, or am I
Yeah.
going to
Hit the
not?
couch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, go take a nap or something like that. And that's an interesting thing, because as a business owner, I think a lot of times people get into business because they do want freedom, and you can have both. I mean, like, it's all about, but you have to earn it, like you
Mhm.
can't just like out the gate be like, okay, I don't work from 1 o'clock till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you know what I mean? Because I'm at the gym and going to the movies or something like that. Like, you need to spend that period of time like really grinding it out so you can get it to a point where you have the luxury of doing all that stuff.
Yeah, I saw this like meme once, and it said something along the lines of like, I quit my 9 to 5 and I started my own dog training business so that way I could like have more freedom, and now I
Yeah.
work 24/7.
Yeah, yeah. Well, personally, I always find it to be a little bit of a red flag. Like, I've spoken to a couple like younger guys in my life, like, just friends of friends or something like that. Like, hey, would you mind talking to my cousin, or like my whoever it is, like my boyfriend's like, little brother or something like that.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because you can always tell like who's going to make it happen and who's not going to make it happen. Because if somebody, there's two massive red flags. If someone immediately starts talking about passive income before they've ever made a single dollar with active income, like just going and selling something, I'm like, you're focused on the wrong thing. And also like freedom. Like, I love the idea of like freedom, financial freedom and stuff like that. But if that's all you're focused on, like, you're going to be really in a painful position when you realize like this requires discipline and effort and work in the beginning to get it to a place where you have some freedom.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And if that's your North Star, I mean, that's fine. And that could be your driving force to like get yourself there. But if you start out from a place of like, I only want freedom, that's just a tricky place to be? So, I mean,
Mhm.
everything can be attained, but it just comes with like sacrifice up front. So, just to bring this conversation back, I think that the most important thing I really want anybody who's listening to take away from this would be focus on making the shift from, if you do identify with this, focus on making the shift from being like, I'm just again like the local uh dog trainer that like helps people out, to be like, no, this is like a real business if that's what you want. And if it's a real business, like do the things that real businesses do. And that starts with registering yourself as an LLC. That starts with getting insurance. And that's a question that always comes up. For insurance, everybody always, whenever somebody asks that question, go to the Hartford. That's what every dog trainer ever says. Like that's the best company to go work with. Yeah, again, just getting back to what I was saying, like do the things that successful dog training companies do. So that looks like registering your business, getting insurance, finding a way to get clients, having ways to like process payments, having programs that you know are actually going to help people. And just think about it. Like what do the successful companies already do? And what can I do to kind of emulate and then make that even better?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I also want to go back to like something that you're bringing up earlier, because all the stuff that we're saying is like, you know, make sacrifices, requires a lot of self-discipline, you know, work on professionalism, all this kind of stuff. And for those of you who already own a dog training business, like a lot of you already know this, and like all these things are saying are not to like sound stressful as far as like more work that has to be done. It's pretty much stuff that you're already doing, but manage your time,
Mm.
like, or focus at least on making sure that your time is managed. So like you mentioned earlier, block out time. So if you're noticing that by listening to this call, like, okay, I need to be more on time. All right, sorry guys, we're having technical difficulties. But back to what I was saying is like a lot of this stuff is stuff that you guys are already doing, but I know it can like come off as very stressful and like lead people to burnout. But I think it truly is just a matter of time management, because from what I see, it just seems like people have this like mental list in their head of like going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and nothing is getting completed. So like what you mentioned before, block out time on your calendar to, you know, focus on getting back to some messages to clients, or block out some time to schedule out social media posts or whatever it is. And I think that is like probably the biggest thing. And by like having that mindset of like setting aside specific time for that stuff, because I know it can get very overwhelming.
Yeah, and one of the best things I've ever heard, and this is the most like boiled down version of what we're talking about right now. Jocko Willink said this. He said, discipline equals freedom. And that always stuck with me, that I'm like, it seems very counterintuitive. Like, if I'm disciplined and I'm like very regimented, that means that like I'm living on inside of some box that I've kind of created for myself. And I kind of fell into that trap for a long time. But what I've actually experienced is like the exact opposite, that like when I'm more regimented, when I'm more disciplined, when I have like a routine and a schedule, I'm way more efficient, and I create more time for myself, because I'm not like so scatterbrained of like, when am I going to find the time to go to the gym? When am I going to find the time to like, do this project? When am I going to find the time to like play with my son, or whatever it is? And
Yeah.
if I know what I'm doing, it's not up for debate, and everything just magically happens. And then there's like time that's like left over as well. So like time block, put stuff on your calendar. It's a really good experiment. First and foremost, like study audit what you're currently doing with your time. And then second, like spend a week where like, or even just a 24-hour period where you were like, this is what I'm going to do from 9 to 10 or 9 to 11. This is what I'm focusing on. From 11 to 12:30, I'm going to the gym. And then I eat lunch. I have 30 minutes to eat lunch. And then I do this and I call clients. Like, if you do that, I promise you more stuff will start getting done. So
Yeah.
that, again, like that's the thought that always rings in my head. Discipline equals freedom. It's a really amazing thing. It's like the only thing I can equate it to is being disciplined with your money. That's another really good example of this, that it feels like, I remember years ago when my wife Jamie and I first started creating a budget for ourselves. We felt like this sucks. Like we can't like spend money on whatever we want to spend it on. It's like felt like really restrictive. But what we found is like it was just a sense of calm and relief to know where every dollar was going to go. And it never had to have a month where it was like, is the money going to be there or is it not going to be there? Right.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden you could start budgeting for things you want to do as well. And so that's a really exciting thing. Like if you really have always wanted to take a trip or go on a cruise or go and see a concert or buy a new car, like you can literally find out what that's going to be and what that's going to cost and just say like, okay, I'm going to do that in a year and I'm going to put away this amount of money every single month, and magically it happens. And had you not done that, more than likely that money just wouldn't come out of thin air and just show up on your doorstep and allow you to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And freedom, I think, I mean, it can be in like a lot of different ways. So like you mentioned, freedom within your business, financial freedom with that, but also kind of like what I was referring to earlier with like blocking out time management, kind of like to avoid like the mental toll of knowing you have so many different things to do, like
Yeah.
mental freedom. You know what I mean? Like crossing small tasks off your list that are normally things that are constantly in the back of your mind. Like you're falling asleep at night and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't get this, and this done today. Let me try again tomorrow. And it's
Yeah.
just like an everyday thing, so just crossing off those little things off your list, making sure things are getting done and
Yeah.
things are being streamlined good. And it just kind of helps with freedom overall, however you see freedom.
Yeah, and the last thing we'll leave you guys with is this. So like there are tools out there that can like really help with this stuff. So the first thing I recommend to everybody, if you want to start going into this, there's a great book. It's called The Productivity Planner. And it explains in the beginning of it exactly how to use it. And it's a planner for your time, right? And it's all based around certain like blocks of time. And you say, well, how many, I think they're referred to as like Pomodoros, right? Which is like, I think they're 20, if I remember, it's been a while. I think it's 25 minutes is a single Pomodoro. And what that means is like you say, okay, I need to go and register my LLC, right? I feel like that's going to take me an hour, right? And what you'll start doing is like write that down and you'll go and do it. And you'll find what I've actually found is, which is really interesting, is the stuff that I thought was going to take really long took less time than I thought it was going to. And the stuff that I thought was like a 5-minute task actually was like a 35-minute task. And so that was really eye-opening to me because I always realized like that's why I was never getting things done, is because like my perception of time was completely off. And so this
Yeah.
kind of like trains your brain to like think about things in like a more accurate way. And so that's the first thing. I recommend that book. It's probably like $30 off Amazon. Amazon, go buy that book. And then the second thing is use something to track your projects. So inside of our company, we use ClickUp. But if you're looking for something simple and free, use Trello. Like Trello is like a board where you can literally create like a pipeline. You go like new project, in progress, completed, right? Or you can label them however you want to. And with that, you can say like, okay, this is a project I want to get done. I want to redo my website or whatever list of things you have to get done. And you can track on there because it's very easy to have these thoughts pop into your head. This is what happens to me. I'm like, oh yeah, that needs to get done. And then if I don't write it down, I forget about it for another 2 weeks and it pops up. Oh yeah, that needs to get done. And then I forget about it, right? So document all this stuff. And there's just nothing more to me fulfilling than being able to like actually check projects off your list. It feels good. It takes up way less mental bandwidth, which is just like a very freeing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, let's leave it there for today. Unless Angel, is there anything else you want to add to that or any other topics you want to cover for today?
No other topics for today.
All right, good. All right, cool. All right, well, listen, as always, we appreciate you guys. If you like the video, hit the like button, leave a comment down below if there's anything for you that you'd like for us to cover. And we appreciate all the support. We're hoping that you guys are getting some value out of this. And we will see you guys all very soon in the next video. See you guys.
Bye, guys.